Next up to the stage is Jeremy, and Jeremy is a passionate CEO with an enviable career history of leading innovation in the information technology industry. Today, he heads up TouchByte, a Cornish company that specializes in cutting-edge facial recognition technology and much more besides. I'm sure we'll be hearing about that. Jeremy is here to talk about how he sees society taking the leap from unlocking our smartphones with our faces to the new Frictionless Society, something I am quite excited about. So while Jeremy comes up and gives his introduction, please do give him a round of applause. And bear with me while I do the slides.
Thank you for that. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm going to be talking to you today a little bit about faces in a space. And that is an introduction really into face recognition. So face recognition, I guess you're probably familiar with it. A lot of controversy around some of it. So I thought I'd just put the first slide up and just to explain a little bit about what it is we actually do. So we capture initially an image that then gets converted into this sort of gobbledygook on the slide here. And that is actually somebody's face. That is a bit of code. Now, what we do is it's a one-way system so that actually, that code cannot be then recreated back to a face. So that's, if you like, the science behind it. We're all probably aware of it going on holiday. And in my previous role, we were looking at this area of mass surveillance for border control, passport control, the police, and so on. Not overly convinced that that's an area that we as TouchByte want to get involved in. So we actually then started to look at the more business applications and the commercial applications, sort of in the retail, leisure, and finance sector. And that was to really look at analytics and recognition. There's always been a big move, and as we're seeing, people are unlocking their phone and also beginning to start to pay for things with their phone or with their face. So in our view, we talked about Frictionless Society. This is something where we believe that all you'll need really in the future is your face and your phone, because you won't need any keys, you won't need any codes, plastic cards for payment, plastic cards for accessing your hotel bedroom, no cash, no signatures, and no tickets. So it's a sort of world that we're moving towards, and it's beginning to happen. So, some of the forward-thinking car manufacturers now, you would get in and it recognizes you and only allows the car to start with your face. We're paying with our face. We can sign into hotel rooms with our face. This is happening in Singapore. Across in China, there's an awful lot more going on, whereby you can actually travel with your face. So it's access to buses, trains, and hotels. And even in retail now, you can actually then start to buy your goods and actually pay with your face. So that's sort of beginning to happen around the world. We in Cornwall in the UK, we've seen access control, particularly with the pandemic, as being a potential opportunity for us, because anything that was touch-based, so keypads, fingerprint, and so on, was a bit of a no-no. And so therefore, face was a natural opportunity there. People are also losing key cards to get into a space. These are obviously plastic, so from an environmental point of view, not great. Mobile phones seem to be a little bit of a trend at the moment, but they do run out of battery. So we had a hotel were talking to us about accessing bedrooms, because if you have a long day, your phones run out of battery by the time you get to your room. So face is sort of the natural opportunity, we believe. And it's all, there's lots of PR out there now talking that biometrics are actually going to reshape the way that we do things, and we're part of that. We've started looking at a product called Face Entry, which is going down a real storm at the moment. This was just a little picture here of the prototype journey that we went on. So we had a very sort of small device, which then morphed into a push button version, but then COVID came. So we had to then build a contactless version. And now it's a CE approved product that actually we're now beginning to install in various different sectors: construction, care homes, retail, and the hotels. And the hotel example in the bottom there is just the example of the innovation in hotel access. So we've gone from punch cards through to MegStripe to RF3 and the phone at the moment, but we see a move potentially to your face moving forward. So how does it work in terms of the access? You basically upload a selfie, so you don't need any fingerprint device or any particular specialist device. That face then gets scheduled to a door, a location. Person walks up to the location, door opens. It's fairly simple in terms of the operation, but obviously more complicated in getting us there. So we, over the last 5 years, we've developed a suite of opportunities, and we've got a system we're building to actually cover the scheduling and so on. And then we have a suite of applications here. Face entry is one of them. Sorry. We're just going to show you a short little video if it works. So this is just showing an access control at a serviced office, and literally walk up to it and it literally allows you in. And then we've got FaceStream, which basically is our analytics and recognition tool. Secure Call is quite interesting. As part of COVID, we've actually embedded face recognition into Teams. So anybody on a Teams call can be validated at the other end. So for example, for, I guess, doctors talking to patients, teachers talking to students and so on, you can just make sure that the actual person at the other end stays in the call. An age check is a validation of somebody's age for when they're buying maybe alcohol at the self-service checkouts. On the back of that, we've had to develop some other bits and pieces around that. So there's various camera units we've developed. We've developed a totem and brackets. There's some other functionality we've also built in. So again, when somebody arrives at a particular site, the management or whoever might want to know that that person's arrived. So we've built a little app that actually then notifies that somebody has arrived. Well, as I showed you, we built some totems. We've also had to develop it for masks. So again, masks. And also potentially car park access. So it frustrates me in some places where you literally, it's ANPR, you arrive and you've come in the wife's car or a hire car. But with this, it's always me, doesn't really matter what car I arrive with. And also QR code, so the same technology can use a QR code. So for emergency access for people's homes, for example, for carers entering a home, if there's an emergency, we can send them a QR code and they can get access to that particular home then. And also because we're recording clock in, clock out, we can then capture that data that then goes on to an HR system for payment. So this is, again, some work we've been doing with buildings. So combining the two products, we've got Face Entry, we've got FaceStream. Face Entry basically controls people getting into the building, and FaceStream basically monitors people once they're in there, making sure that they're actually enrolled and they are allowed into that particular site. So this is just a very broad summary then of some of the applications we've got. So again, it divides largely up into two areas: video analytics and face recognition. Video analytics is really more anonymous. So again, we just know it's a round thing. If we're counting round things, we can then look at that particular round thing and think it's a male or a female and roughly what age it is. So you start to get the demographics of that particular person going into that particular site. And then we can monitor the flow if we've got multiple cameras around a particular site, particularly in retail, which is one of the areas we're looking at. They can actually monitor where people go and the demographics of the people that are in the building. We could also then trigger digital signage. So for example, male of a certain age, you may have content that actually displays on the signage, and that's particularly relevant there. We can then look at a whole bunch of statistics on the back of that. So again, you know, it goes into a sort of business intelligence tool that actually then starts to look at, you know, this week, last week, and so on. And we move into sort of face recognition, and then there's a whole bunch of applications that we're seeing now moving into that. So again, what we call a driver check, which is basically if you jump in a lorry, car, JCB or whatever, and you need to be trained, that particular thing doesn't start until it's validated who that particular person is. You know, access to back doors for retail where you're delivering something and maybe you want to deliver it 24/7, you can give somebody access to that and you've got a secure way of getting that. Personalized messaging. So again, when I arrive, you know, at a hotel and it picks me up, the gin and tonic's on the bar ready for me. Pay by face, various notifications. If you've got forms of disability, maybe, you know, you might want to have enroll on the system, and when you arrive somewhere, you get a personalized shopper or somebody that comes and helps you. Access to various different parts of a building, and clock in, clock out. So there's a suite of things that actually start to build towards what we see as this new sort of frictionless society. So that's just a whistle-stop tour of some of the things we're getting involved in. We love going in to talk to customers about the technology, and quite often they will come up with some new and wild and fangled way of doing something. You know, somebody asked the other week whether we could monitor cats going through a cat flap, but that's not really the market we're in. So yeah, thanks for your time. If there's any questions, I think we've got a little bit of time for questions, or?
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes before you need to dive off.
Yeah, so if there's anything, put them in the chat.
So we've had one come in from Brian already.
Yep.
Will the face recognition work with part cover faces for obvious reasons?
Yep.
And what coverage will it work up to?
So we've done a lot of testing with it, and it produces the normal face mask worn correctly. It will pick up somebody with their face mask on. Obviously, it's measuring the points on the face. So the more points on the face we can get, the more accurate it can be. But it is remarkably accurate, I have to say. We've tried it with masks, and it does work. Obviously, if you've got a hoodie or you've got glasses, dark glasses, and a face mask, we're probably going to struggle. But if we can see part of the face, then it's an AI algorithm, so it's learned over the time that can be recognized.
I've got a little question. You mentioned the cat recognition.
Yes.
Is there a reason why that wouldn't work, or is it just something you're not interested in as a business?
Something that we're not really interested in, and there's no reason why it wouldn't work, but being that it's an AI, you have to basically train it, and you'd have to get hundreds and millions of cats to actually roll on the system before it would then be a level of accuracy in there. And that's what the algorithm providers spend a lot of time and effort on. So I think we'd have to get a lot of cats, basically. There was also another one where a milking parlour wanted to actually recognize the cows coming in, because then they could then, but again, the cost of basically developing some of that is quite high. And we want to try and keep focused as much as we can, because there is an awful lot of opportunities just in the field we're in. So yeah.
Ruth has said it'd be a good technology for online lessons or information advice / guidance interviews in schools. Are there any extra data GDPR precautions that you need to take around those kind of people?
Yeah, absolutely. GDPR was a bit of a hit for us when we first started out, because nobody really understood the rules. Now it's clearer, and therefore anything that we do, if it's personal, if it's actually putting somebody's face or people's data on the system, you have to get consent. In the analytics space, as long as we can show that we're actually deleting the data and we're not holding any actual images, then that seems to be okay. But yes, any face, particularly of children, then obviously you're going to get parental consent and so on if that's the case. Yeah, so it's.
Don't have that problem with cats, though, do you?
No, you don't have. No, they don't have to. Yeah.
Oh dear. Jeremy, you've got a couple of minutes before you need to go into your
Thank
meeting,
you.
so I will nudge you to finish up there. If we could give Jeremy a huge round of applause, please.